We'll go on to Mr. Duncan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's good to see my colleagues here today, and I hope everybody is keeping well, both here in the chamber and across the country. My questions today are going to focus on CRA and the upcoming tax deadline on June the 1st. Being about 3.5 weeks away now, can the government advise what percentage of Canadians have completed their tax returns to date? And furthermore, if that number is above or below where we would normally be at this point?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. As we know, our government understands that Canadians are going through a difficult time, and that's where we're here to support them. And it's why the agency has announced a series of relief measures for individuals and businesses for the 2019 tax season. So these relief measures include, but not limited to, extending the deadline for filing income tax returns to June 1st, 2020.
We'll go back to Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My reason for asking that is I'm growing increasingly concerned that too many, particularly lower-income Canadians who rely on volunteer clinics, are going to miss the deadline. I have concern about the volume of filings still left outstanding and the lack of time for tax preparers and volunteers to complete those returns. From a local Stormont-Dundas-South Glengarry perspective, I'm very fortunate to have a great group of volunteers in my constituency office through the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program, and that group last year completed nearly 6,000 returns. Now, we rightfully suspended back in mid-March whenever the COVID crisis hit and we did our social distancing, and the volunteers by that point had completed about 1,500. Normally, they would have a month and a half to complete the other 4,500. However, there are millions of Canadians being advised to stay at home, and frankly, with the deadline approaching in the 3.5 weeks, I'm just concerned that we're in a similar situation in many parts of the country. Is there any consideration to a further extension of the tax deadline to make sure people can get their taxes done?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, thank you to my honourable colleague for the question. And honestly, we are currently still bringing the current measures into action. And of course, we know that this is unprecedented times, and we will have to monitor and see if we need to take this concern into consideration, and also make sure that we know Canadians are at home right now and they want to do their taxes, but they will need some support, especially the most vulnerable, who we know go to those tax clinics to help them do their taxes. So we will take that in consideration, and we will be back to share those next steps.
The Honourable Member, Mr. Duncan.
The other serious time crunch that we have is not just the tax deadline itself, but is the renewal of benefits that come from Canadians filing their taxes. Every July, rates and payments for GST, HST, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, and the Child Tax Benefit, among others, get recalculated. If someone is reliant on these benefits, we don't want to see them cut off. Benefit rates for many low-income Canadians renew in July. Millions of Canadians live paycheck to paycheck in normal circumstances, let alone during this pandemic. Can the government assure Canadians that they won't be cut off their benefits in July if they can't get their taxes done safely and in time because of the overwhelming demand and the time remaining? And furthermore, is the government considering extending current benefit rates until August or September as a potential solution to ensure there's no interruption of these much-needed benefits to Canadians now more than ever?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
I'm delighted to be given this opportunity to talk about the importance of delivering these benefits and what we've done in the last few weeks in terms of enhancing them. First, about not the Canada tax benefit, the Canadian child benefit, which we have put into place just a few years ago. That's benefiting 3.5 million families. The great news is that they're going to receive an additional, on average, $550 in just a few weeks from now. We're also very mindful of the importance of the increased GIS that we put into place just a few months ago for seniors. We're also very mindful of the increase in the GST tax credit, which most low-income and modest-income seniors received just a few weeks ago, and we'll keep working very hard to make sure that not only do they have access to those benefits, but they actually receive them.
We'll go on to Mr.